Welcome to Winter Too Soon. This is Michelle Bader. I'm sitting here with my friend and co-host, Mark Massaro. How's it going, Mark?
It's good. How are you?
I am great because you know why?
Why? Wait, let me guess. No. I just want you to say it. Why?
13 days until my wedding.
13 days.
And less than that when you guys are listening, probably like 11-ish. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's not long. So I'm pretty excited. And my 29th birthday is coming up tomorrow. So
So you'll, by the time people listen to this, you'll have
I'll be
already turned
29.
29.
But
That's so cool.
No, for real, it's my birthday. Now, 29 might be a little off, but whatever. So I am ecstatic because I'm getting married in 13 days. I mean, more like 12 and a half right now.
But who's counting, right?
Who's counting? And I'm so excited. It's not just like the marriage and the wedding, but it's also celebrating. Like I have so many friends from high school and college flying in and from all over. I have 10 bridesmaids because I have a lot of great friends, and I still had more. Like I could have had like 20. I had to, cut it down. But I'm just excited. And then all of Joel's family flying in from Boston. And I'm just excited to celebrate this massive, amazing occasion. You know what? I ask you how you are, and here I am talking again.
No, keep going.
I'm like
it's massive, amazing.
Giddy excited about getting married again. Like giddy. Like it's hard to explain when you have, but our listeners know this part, been to the depths of like, you've seen death, you've experienced what that's like, and to lose the person that you lived with and, shared all these things with, and then to be in a place where God has healed your heart and then brought somebody else into your life. Like, I just feel like singing from the rooftops, like how excited. I was joking, but I might be serious that when I come down the aisle, I might be dancing, like for real. Like I was practicing with the wedding march, and I was like, I think I literally might be dancing. Like I'm so excited to get married. Now, when I married Luke, I did, and I was 24, I guess 5 years ago. Whatever. I was so excited. I was bouncing up and down. My mom's like, it was just like when you were a little girl. Like I was like so excited, like when I was up at the front, and I feel like I'm gonna be doing that again. Like it's such a place of joy, just God turning mourning to dancing, turning, taking ashes into beauty, all of those things. Like I feel it. And now don't get me wrong. You don't have to have another spouse to feel that. I was already feeling some of those things. But I was thinking about today in church, just about the day that I remember God saying, I'm going to restore the joy of your youth, and I'm going to restore everything you lost in a marriage. And here I am, like 13 days from marrying such an amazing man who loves me in different ways than I've ever been loved. And it's just absolutely breathtaking, really. And like thinking about how Facebook connected us. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. And I mean, God. And just like it blows me away when I actually think about all the details that had to happen to get to where I am today. And just even today, like we were talking, meeting some new people. Well, we're trying new churches. We're at a new church, meeting some people and talking about how Joel moved from Louisiana, and just like that he gave up his life that he knew for me. Like just gave up his job and his friends there, all of these things in order to move across the country for me. And listen, he grew up in Brazil. He does not like know rain that well, like, and cold weather. So this has been a little difficult for him. He being in the sun, like we just looked, I think it's like 75 in Louisiana today. And it's like, 40 something. It's been snowing a lot recently. In fact, so much that I'm like, no snow for our wedding, please. And just all of this to say, I am so thankful to God for all he has done in my heart, in Joel's heart. We've both come through a lot of grief and sorrow, and to be where we are today, about to not only join ourselves, but join our kids, join our families, and have a new family that God is ordaining and creating. And it's amazing. So I'm a little bit on like cloud nine, like trying to just get all the details ready for the wedding and just try to at the same time enjoy this, and just like, this is amazing. Like this is happening. And it's like we were talking about today, it's surreal, not surreal like that we're getting married, like doesn't feel real, but that it's this close now, because it seems like it was like far out there. Here we are.
It's probably got to feel a little surreal that you're getting married too.
Yes, that too. Yeah, it does.
Because it's like you're starting something. And
Yes.
we know how important marriage is to us, and
Yeah.
like you're starting this life, you're starting this new life, and it's got to be super cool and super exciting, and especially, I've seen the hell that you have lived through,
Yeah.
and I mean, we started talking 6 months ish after
Yeah.
your loss, 3 months ish after mine,
Yeah.
and really shared a lot of grief. And I know what you've been through. And so to see, like, to know that we're here today,
Yeah. It's
this
crazy.
is so cool. I'm so happy for you and for Joel. And um, like, that's great. That's so great to not have to like I don't know, when I think back to like where we were, and it was just this like lost, confusing, dark season
Yeah.
of life, of like just trying to figure out like what now? What's
Yeah.
next?
Who am
And then,
I?
somehow you convinced me to do this podcast. I still don't know how.
I know.
But it's just amazing to have watched the whole thing unfold. And
Yeah.
now here you are, like getting married, and it's so
I
awesome.
know.
It's
It's
so awesome.
insane. And we were talking about this off air, but I wanted to share. It's like, okay, so when you get married again, are you still a widow? Like, I'm like, am I a widow in 13 days? But I feel like we kind of talked about this in like the conclusion that like I won't currently be widowed, but I will always be Luke's widow. Like Luke's widow, Joel's wife. But
Mhm.
I will have always lived through. So I feel like I can continue to speak to widows because I lived
Mhm.
through it. Like I have been through it. And so
Because
I
I don't personally think that being widowed is a status as much as it is an experience.
true. Right.
And so I personally look at it like, you are, from now on, you and I and those of us listening will always be widowed.
True. Yeah.
Now, yeah, your current status isn't widowed once you're married to Joel, but you're always going to be a widow. And I
Right.
feel like it's an experience that nobody can ever take away from you. It's kind of like, I don't know, I haven't had a lot of time to think about the analogy, but like, I don't know, if like you were a professional baseball player or
Yeah.
something, just because you retired, it doesn't mean that like you weren't a professional baseball player.
Exactly. Good point.
And I don't know why I chose that particular, but I was just trying to think of something on the
Yeah.
fly that like, it's like, it's something that happened to you, that just because your circumstances change, that doesn't ever, you don't ever lose that, because,
Yeah.
um, which I'll get into soon, but actually I'll just get into it now, and then I'll tell you about what's been up with me
Yeah.
afterwards.
Exactly.
But so it's tying it into, I think you had a chance to listen to it. I did
I
an
did.
episode by
Yeah.
myself,
It was great.
that you don't have to let go.
Hmm.
Thank you. And so, like, I'm sure a lot of people would want to know what your take is on
Yeah.
that. So, like, what do you think about that? Because it's kind of like along the lines of what I was just talking about, is like that now you don't have to let go of Luke to move forward with Joel.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
I loved all the things you had to share, and I thought it was really beautiful when you talked about like if you and Tina got married, you'd have your picture and then the pictures from both of your previous marriages beside that. But I was like, I wouldn't. Well, because it's different when one is widowed and one divorced. So obviously we're not going to have Luke's, I mean, Joel's ex in a picture, and then a picture of me and Joel, and then a picture of me and Luke. It doesn't work the same. And so I was just thinking about how every situation is different. I actually talked to my counselor about that, and just how it is a different situation, and that wouldn't work in mine, and how I have actually removed all pictures that were up that were just me and Luke. Now, Joel did not ask me to do that, and he would be fine with it, but he did tell me he appreciated that.
mm,
So I feel like it's going to be every person listening. If you're in a relationship, it's going to be like your personal decision with your significant other, what works for you. But I feel like I still can have Luke a part of me, even if I don't have those pictures up. But I do have lots of family pictures, of course, for my kids, everything. I'm going to leave family pictures up. And I do have like this thing from his celebration of life with lots of pictures on him, and just says forever in our hearts. And I left that up, of course, and things like that. I actually had a grief moment the other day because I am preparing my room to get ready for Joel. And I actually still had a bunch of Luke's clothes in those like vacuum sealed packages. And like I tried to make them smaller. I'd gotten rid of some of them over the years, but I still have tons of them. And I was just kind of like trying to go through them more. And then I was like, this framed picture I never put up on my wall at this house. It was actually like 6 different pictures of Luke and I on our honeymoon. And then there was a little sticker at the top that said Luke loves Michelle that he made like on a labeler thing and put it on there. And I'm just seeing this picture stare at me. I've got his clothes everywhere. Joel's in here. We're trying to prepare for our life together. And it just was like, I had this weird guilt, but I know it's not from God, where I was just like, well, what would Luke think if he was in here seeing me like go through his things with another man? Then I had to realize, no, like he's in perfect peace. He's not thinking that. But I actually had tears in my eyes as I'm staring at pictures of me and Luke on our honeymoon. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm about to go on a honeymoon again. What if this husband dies? And then I was like, I can't live like that. Like I can't.
No, you can't. And it always goes back to the advice that we've given so many times that like, let's say even if Luke was sitting there somehow, and just all obviously extremely hypothetical, but let's say he was sitting there and he was asking you that, you could answer him and say, because I didn't choose this. I didn't choose for you to die.
Right.
And exactly. that's why it's okay, because you didn't make the choice for this to be your life. True. You're trying to pick up the pieces and and like Tina and I have talked about this, that like, if no matter how happy I am with Tina, I would have never been in this position if Lacey didn't have cancer. I would have still been happily married to Lacey. She would have still been happily married to John. Right. And so it is something that we have to accept as, we're trying to do the best we can with the cards we've been dealt. Yeah. So anyways, but I'm not saying your grief isn't valid, of course. Right. I understand where you're coming from, but it does kind of go back to that same thing that we often say, that like, that's why everything's okay, because you didn't choose this. Yeah. This isn't your choice. This wasn't, it's not like, you left. I don't know. Whatever. We understand what I mean. Yeah, but it's not your choice. Exactly. An example, but anyways, go on. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it is interesting, like to hear the different, and we often have different points of views on this podcast about how we would deal with things or whatever. And so especially the different situations of widowed or divorced. And it definitely plays into how you're then coming together as a family. So, but I loved it. But let's get back to what's been up with you. I don't want it all to be about me.
What's been up with me? So Tina did just come for a visit, which was so amazing. We had a really great time. She came here and we went out to dinner at the Cheesecake Factory. This time a cheeseburger did not explode on me.
Did you have the same thing and then just risk it? You're like, no, I'm never having that again.
So we've been there now 3 times together, and all 3 times we've had the same waitress.
Crazy.
And so she remembered us. She's all, oh, hey,
the cheeseburger.
Like, well, yeah. So I was tempted to order the cheeseburger as a joke and be like, no, I'm just kidding. I don't want that to explode on me again. Yeah. But anyways. And Tina treated me because it was a graduation present, because I graduated high school.
Nice, congratulations! That's so awesome. Thank you.
I had to teach myself algebra and slopes and all this crazy stuff that was really, really difficult for me. But that's the world we live in now. Is I just got to go watch a ton of videos on YouTube and I obviously had to apply myself and practice and pause it to do the problem and blah blah blah. Yeah. But I taught myself how to do math. That was pretty cool. Awesome. And I passed the test. I got my diploma already. I would show it to you, but the audience can't see. They can't? Look, guys. But I promise you I have it.
So cool.
And so and then we had some crazy weather, and it was really neat because so I have this like screened in porch in my backyard, and have some like couches in there. And so I just turned on the fire. Nice. I have a little like fire pit that has like a windshield around it. A shield from wind, not like a front windshield like on a car.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
But same thing. It is a shield. It is a windshield. And it was so nice because the wind was just howling and the rain was coming in, and like it was just like kind of intense, like the weather.
Yeah.
But we were just like laying next to this warm
Safe.
fire on the
Love
couch and
that.
just kind of cuddling,
Aw.
and we just kept like drifting off, taking naps, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. It was super cool. And then, another day it was like really pretty out, and we just sat around the fire pit and talked, and um we just had a really great time. We really get along super well, and my kids love her, which is so fun and awesome.
Yes.
And actually, it was pretty neat. My kids didn't know she was coming,
Oh, fun.
and so she got here during the day
Hmm.
and before my kids were out from school, and so we picked them up together.
Oh, so fun.
And so they opened the door and they were like, "Hey, Daddy, how's it going?" Tina! Like
Oh,
it
how
was super,
sweet.
yeah, it was super cool. So they were like, I become chopped liver when she's around, but that's
Right.
okay. I'm happy for them to have, that role fulfilled in their lives. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's so
Um,
awesome.
and yeah, we hung out, and I also, so I have my house is 3 bedroom,
Hmm.
but my kids wanted to share a bedroom. So I
Yeah,
have this extra bedroom, and I made it like into like a guest room,
nice.
Well, I had a TV in there, and that TV, stopped working. So
Hmm.
I've known for like 6 months that I need to like do something about that TV. So I finally decided to like turn it into a movie theater room.
Oh,
So it's so
fun.
funny. Like I have the theater outside, but this
Yeah.
theater is different because I took all my crazy surround sound system from downstairs and brought it up into the theater
Oh,
room.
nice.
So it's like a movie theater. It's yeah, I could nerd out and talk about my Dolby Atmos setup, but I won't.
Nice.
But I'm sorry. Okay, this isn't my fault. This is an alarm.
Silence
Sorry.
everything. You
It's
know the
I
rules.
okay. Well, it's
Rules.
I
This is
know.
our
Rules. Come on, Mark.
67th episode. Okay.
I still can't mute my phone. No, my
This
phone's
is
muted, but my alarm's
almost
on.
2 years. And we're still getting all these random interruptions.
Yep,
It's okay.
yep.
Anyways,
Sorry.
go
So,
ahead.
anyways, so yes, so we just had a wonderful time. And it's just always so fun spending time with her. It's really great. And what else? Yeah, that's the summary. Oh, my friends Chris and his wife, who again I've
Oh, yeah,
gotten
yeah.
permission to use Chris's name, but not his wife, so I will leave her name out of it. But they are on their way here right now.
Yes,
Last I heard,
nice.
they were in Texas. They are moving here, as I've mentioned before. So we should
That's
be
awesome.
hanging out soon. And yeah, anyways, blah blah blah. So really excited to have friends close by, but that's what's been up with me.
Yes.
So giving it back to you, where we at?
Yes. Okay, side note. I meant to
Side note.
ask you about this. I thought about you when I saw this movie. Okay, have you seen Jesus Revolution?
No, but I want to. I
Okay, you know
know
that
Greg
pastor?
Laurie.
Yes,
Greg Laurie,
okay.
yeah.
I had no idea until that he was saying his name, and then I remember you talking about him, and I was like, California. Okay, I told Joel
Yes.
afterwards, that's this pastor that Mark always talks about. That was his story. Like,
Yeah, well, that is so Pastor Chuck Smith
yeah,
is the one that it's about. So
yeah.
he is the one that started Calvary Church.
Yes, I learned all this. It was great.
Okay. So yeah, and so Calvary Chapel, like that was the start of the Jesus Revolution, as you know.
Right.
Now I haven't seen the movie, but I just know this history anyways. But the interesting thing about it is like in the 60s, that's like the start of like the hippies and all that, like the
Yeah.
whole hippie road. But it was interesting because hippies were all about like love, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And all that. Well, they were like ripe for learning about Jesus, but they
Yeah.
also had the like drugs and rock and roll and sex part
Mm-hmm.
of it and all that. But so at that time, church was very legalistic and like
Yeah.
suits and ties, and you only dress like appropriately to go to church. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Chuck Smith had this understanding of who Christ was,
Yeah.
and that he said, look, it's people that are healthy don't need doctors, just like it's sick people that need Jesus. And so he invited all these hippies and said, come
Yeah.
as you are, come in your shorts, come in your
Yep.
sandals, whatever, just come learn about Jesus. And it was even on the cover of Time magazine. So I don't know
Yes.
what the movie talked
They talk
about.
about that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was on the cover of Time magazine. It was one of the biggest salvation moments
Yeah.
in history.
Yeah.
like one of the most people that came to Christ. So that's cool. I really do want to see the movie. So sorry. I guess I'm saying stuff that's like all in the movie, but
No, it's all
I've
right.
known
Like,
this stuff for a while because I'm from Southern California.
yes, I just didn't realize the connection until yeah, I was watching it and I heard the name in California and then you
That's
talked about
cool.
him. And my kids loved it. So, they're 15 and 16. And usually I didn't think Peyton, I think he'd be like, it was bored. He's like, no, it had everything. It had romance. It had this. It was good. And then Haley's like, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. I want to see it again.
That's
And
awesome.
they really, really liked it. And so when Hayden comes home from college next week, because he's coming for spring break and the wedding, I want to go, or Haley wants to go again with him. Somebody's going to go with him. And it was really good. And then Haley
I want
said,
to go watch it.
yeah, she also learned a lot about the 60s that she didn't know,
Oh,
what life
uh-huh.
was like then. And it was just really good. So that's a little side note. I highly recommend that movie to
That's
anybody
super
listening.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really,
And
really.
interesting fact that I know everybody wants to know. Greg Laurie and I share a birthday, December 10th.
Seriously,
Yep.
that's
And
awesome.
I've talked to him
Fun
before,
fact.
actually.
Oh, nice.
I called there's this show I used to listen to all the time. Anybody from Southern California probably knows what it is, but it's called Pastor's Perspective. And so
Okay.
you could call up and ask pastors questions. And so I used to call, I was a regular caller, I always had
Nice.
questions. But I called one time when he was on air and I had to tell him this story. So he and his son were on air one day. And, addition to other people, but they were the panel of guest
Yeah.
pastors or whatever. And so, my phone call, I got through and I was on the air and I said, hey, I was like, before I ask my question, Greg, I have to tell you this story. When my wife was pregnant with my daughter, we used to listen to you every single night. We'd listen to your sermons as we were falling asleep. Like it was just what we went to
Aw.
sleep to. And he's like, oh wow. And I'm like, no, that's not even the cool part. I'm all, and so like through her whole pregnancy. And then when my daughter was born, we were busy, my wife's trying to breastfeed. I'm trying to, change diapers, do the whole nine.
Yeah.
So we didn't listen to you for a while, which was out of norm for us. But when we both had some downtime, we put you on the TV and my daughter started turning her head like crazy,
Oh,
trying to
wow.
figure out where that voice was coming from.
That's so
And
cool.
and then when she saw your voice, she was just completely mesmerized. Like that's the voice I recognize.
Wow.
So it was totally like 100% she recognized your voice. And he's like, wow, that's so cool. And then his son goes, he's all, really? That's weird. Whenever my kids hear his voice, they just take off running or whatever.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, it was pretty cool. But anyway, so I just had to share that
No,
super
that's
relevant and
awesome.
important
It
story.
is. It is. It's good.
Yes.
It's good.
So
Well, okay,
anyway,
let's get into our topic after we talk forever.
yeah.
If you guys are still here, thanks for hanging out with us. Okay. So the topic for today is another grief myth. Grief myth, be strong for others.
Mm.
So a lot of people think when they go through grief, like I have to hold it together and be strong for others. Now, there is a part of that that's true if you are a parent. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot just completely fall apart because you still have to feed them and take care of them and all of that. But you have to, like, it's good for you to be vulnerable and you don't have to be strong for everybody. Your role in life might change. For example, I used to always be, and I am again, but I was like the glue in my friendships and in everything. And I had to tell them that for a season, I can no longer be the glue. I can no longer be the one. I need someone else to start putting things together. I couldn't be strong anymore. And so, you don't have to be strong for others. That's one of the biggest myths that there is that you have to put on your strong face for everybody. But I think there's times when it's good to, well, what we feel, we heal. We all know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's on like every episode, probably. Probably like
At least 50%.
at least 50%, yeah, or more than that. But there is a time to let that guard down. Now, I know you had to be strong for your kids, especially when Lacey was sick. You really tried to protect them for it. But after she passed away, did you find that you had a safe space to not be strong? Like to put that down, to feel it all?
No, but I
No.
should have.
Mm.
But I did the grief myth. I felt like I needed to be strong for everybody because I felt like nobody could handle the darkness that was
Mm.
circling around in my head. The pain that I was experiencing and feeling like I felt like nobody was prepared for what I wanted to say.
Right.
and about how much it hurt and how much I missed her and how much I just couldn't believe she was gone, and the hell that I had seen, the things that I had seen, I felt like nobody could handle. Um, and so there were many times where I picked up the phone and I just couldn't bring myself to call anybody. I needed to talk to somebody.
Right.
I needed to, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't call anybody. I couldn't burden anybody with the heaviness that was in my heart. And so I did feel like I needed to be strong for people because they couldn't handle. Um, I felt like I wouldn't have any friends left. I remember posting that on
Mm,
Facebook. I remember saying, I have this fear that if I open up to you guys, I'm not going to have any friends left when I'm
mm,
on the other side of this grief journey, because nobody's going to want to hang out with me because, I'm just going to be like the sad guy that nobody wants to be around. I felt like I needed to be happy for people to still want to be my friend.
right.
And, but also when you're going through grief, you're in a season of confusion.
Oh yeah.
And so
100%.
I was confused about what friendships meant. I was confused about, I had my friend Chris, my friend Brian, my friend John, Tamara, a lot of people that like would have listened to me and would have heard me. My mother-in-law, she wanted it. I mean, we were
Right.
grieving over the same person. But I
Right.
still like, and now don't get me wrong, her and we had a lot of great conversations, but I still, even though she insisted it was okay, I still would never pick up the phone and call somebody to just say, hey, I'm having a really hard time right now.
Mm,
Very few times. I think one time I called Brian and John and I said, I'm so sorry to bother you guys. Can you guys just like pray with me over the phone? I don't want to like bother you guys. I don't want to like disturb you, but like, can you guys please like pray with me? And I sent out a multi-text. That's right. It was a multi-text to both of them. And they both replied within 30 seconds, I'm on my way,
right.
bro. And then
Nice.
the other, I think John replied first, I'm on my way. And Brian said, me too. And they both just showed up at my house, and I didn't ask
That's
either one of them to
awesome.
do that. So, anyways, long answer to a short question. No, I really didn't feel like I had a place where I could be vulnerable and
Mm.
and really let out was on my mind. I did sometimes, but for the most part, no. I'd say no. How about you though?
I feel like I did. Like God had put all these widows. I knew, I think, 6 widows before I was a widow, had already
Mm,
put them in my life in all different places. Like first there was a couple from a writing conference I went to, and like a friend who had become a widow before me. Like we were friends before that, and just like different people. And I actually did reach out. Like I reached out to, I think, almost all of them and just said, I'm having a hard time. Please tell me it gets better. And that's
mm,
where they did tell me it gets better. And met up with some of them and just wanted, like, just tell me, like, what is it going to be like in the future? Like, I just needed that hope. And
mm,
that's part of what's inspired this podcast, is to be that hope for other people. We are farther in the journey now. I'm coming on 3 years in 2 months. It'll be 3 years, which is crazy to me. And we are further along, and so I feel like I know you feel the same way. We want to spread that joy and that hope that it does get better. Again, it's what you do with the time, not just time. But
mm,
I did have that place. I was able to reach out. I did try to be strong for my kids, but honestly, I wasn't that great at it. In fact, it came out the other day. Haley kind of shared that she felt like for a little while she was the adult in the family because there's a lot going on with my other kids. And she's like, and you were kind of an unstable mom. And I was like, I was. And I
mm.
can look back now and see, she's like, you were crying all the time. And I was. So I was kind of the opposite. I don't think I really bought into this myth too much. It was more the other way. Like I had a harder time keeping it together. And, I feel like maybe for the general public, like Facebook and stuff like that, it was like, be strong. But for like people who really knew me well, like I was okay breaking down and telling them what I needed and what was happening. And like, I'm not strong. Like, I am not doing well. And so I kind of had an opposite experience than you. Um, and I did have that safe space. And I think that's what I needed in that time. Yeah, I could have been stronger for my kids and been more stable, but I could barely survive. I remember just laying on the floor crying, barely able to get out of bed. And Haley told me she was recalling when I thought I had a blood clot like 3 days after Luke died, and I was acting like I was dying and how scared she was. She was telling Peyton about that, I guess, and he didn't know that story, and just how she was so worried about everybody and worried. She was worried about me a lot. And so I wish I would have done a better job, but I was just trying to survive.
You can't, it's so interesting though, because like you can't really, first of all, you can't hold yourself responsible for doing something better
Yeah.
that is crazy hard and you've never done before.
Yeah.
This is like, it's such a good testament to why it is so different with the kids being the ages that they are.
True. Yeah.
I didn't have the option
Right.
to
Yours were younger. Yeah.
break down. They wouldn't understand.
Right.
Like if I just didn't have the energy to give them a bath or feed them dinner or whatever, they especially, at the ages they were at that time, even, it's funny. My daughter now, she's, just turned 10 and she is like, oh my gosh, she is like just such a helper, she's just
so
always like
awesome.
doing stuff. But at that time, yes, even though she wanted to help, the help was very different at the time, she would be like, can I make dinner? And I just wanted to be nice. I'm like, sure, honey, I don't know. I knew I was getting into something bad, but it was like, I didn't know what to expect. And it was like, here, I gave you cut up tortilla with Cheetos. And I was like, oh, delicious.
Sweet.
And so she's like, I think this is like a healthy meal. I'm like, oh yeah, totally. This is great. But so you can't, you have to pretend with little kids. That
you do.
fine. And, but yeah, so it's kind of interesting because I really did give into that myth in many different ways that and I could have been more open with my kids. I was pretty open with them and pretty honest, but I would hide if I was having a really hard moment. Like I would hide.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was any better, than telling them, because a lot of times I remember hearing them like looking for me and I'd be like in my closet, like with the door closed, and I'd be like, oh, I'm changing. I'll be out soon. And I'd have to like wipe my tears and like, breathe to try and like recover and pull it together and go out there and pretend like nothing was wrong. But then, I was partially unintentionally, of course, but I think I was kind of showing them that like maybe we hide our feelings, but I did, I did talk with them. I did talk with them a lot about what are you feeling? How are you feeling? What's your favorite memory with mommy? Do you miss mommy? You know what I mean? Just like, just trying to get them to talk about it. And we still do that stuff. Actually, I took Alexis to the doctor the other day for some other stuff. And they had a counselor come in and talk to Alexis, and they were just kind of asking her, she's like, do you still think about your mommy? And Alexis is like, yeah, I think about mommy. And just, I don't know, it's just interesting. She was asking her questions that like, I sometimes don't think to ask. Not that in particular, but like, I like when I talk about mommy, it's like I'm telling them a memory or a story, or I'm showing them photos that I stumbled across or videos or stuff like that. But like I don't really like ever ask them, what are your thoughts? Like, when was the last time you thought about mommy? Or like, what did you think about the last time you thought about mommy? And how was that for you? Does it keep you up at night? That was one of the things she asked. Does it ever keep you up at night when you're thinking about your mommy? And she was like, sometimes. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know that. And just things that I didn't think to ask. But so sorry, I kind of got off topic a little bit.
No, that's good.
But yeah, so anyways.
It is a difference in, the age of the kids, because my kids could make themselves food and I didn't have to give them baths or anything like that. And so we were definitely in different places with what we could and couldn't do. And then I'm thinking back to when Luke was sick. I feel like that was more the time period where I felt to be strong. Like, in fact, I just told Joel about this today. A memory popped up from 3 years ago today. It was actually my last time out to eat with Luke, to celebrate my birthday a day early. And I remember that conversation and I actually started crying. And he said, I didn't think you cared, like that I was dying, because you don't cry. You don't seem to show emotion. And it was only because I was trying to stay strong for my kids, for him. Like, I didn't want it to make it worse on him, like, and be crying all the time. He cried a lot during that time period. He knew he was dying. I didn't want to make it worse. So I feel like I felt this grief myth maybe it's because I was like pre-grieving too. I don't know. I felt this more when he was alive. Be strong because I'm trying to hold it all together for everybody. And so I feel like I definitely felt it during that time period. And even the day he died, I was just telling someone the death story again, and how I was like, God gave me a supernatural peace and strength. Like I didn't even cry at all when Luke was dying. I was talking calmly, like I was just having a conversation with him. I remember saying, like, you're going to meet my grandparents today, and like you're going to hear good and, well done my good and faithful servant. And I wasn't even emotional. It was like this crazy supernatural strength, which this is not even what we're talking about, but just a side note that like God gave me that peace to be able to, and strength to be able to walk my kids through, because they were all emotional during it. But I feel like, yeah, I never really felt this much after he died, because I kind of fell apart. um but I do feel like yeah, I had to go through all of this, but I've always been really good at being open and vulnerable to people. So I've never really hidden how I feel. And it's also always in my face. I cannot hide anything, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I could never be like, poker face, because I just can't like hide my emotions. And so I've never really hidden. But crazy. Another side note, my sister-in-law was over the other day, doing my hair. We're getting ready to get all, wedding ready. And she's like, you look different than when Luke was sick. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, you carried your grief on your face so much. She's like, you just seem so much lighter now. I was like, really? Like, thank you. Like, it's just,
And
but
it's hard to like explain to somebody though, like the amount of trauma that we experience going through that with our spouses. And
yeah,
so I felt like it was all over my face too. And
yeah,
but the same thing, like I always felt like I had to be strong for Lacey, because
yes, yes,
how can I, like, I always had this mentality at the time that I was like, she's the one going through it.
right,
If
exactly.
she's not gonna break down or she's not gonna fall apart, I can't fall apart. If
Uh-huh.
she's gonna be strong, I need to be strong too. I
Yeah,
need to do this for her and I need to do this for my kids. I need to stay positive. And but gosh, I was broken inside. I was broken. I
yeah,
was so freaking broken. I mean, I was a mess. I remember times at the hospital, like I look back and I'm like, I- I'm I'm partially embarrassed at the way I behaved, but
you're just surviving.
I was desperate. Like I
Hmm.
wanted I mean, I was getting in fights with doctors and
Right.
like I was nasty. I was mean. I was mean because they were not doing what my wife wanted. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
whatever it was, like it wasn't me, but you know, I was defending my wife, and so I just turned into this like whole other person. And I was mean in one instance, or many instances I was mean, but then there were other instances where I was just like, I literally just like collapsed in the hallway of the hospital.
Yeah.
Like my legs just gave out and I just fell up against the wall right in the middle of the floor, like just crying because like I couldn't believe what was going on. I couldn't believe that I was losing Lacey. And um I don't know. So my emotions were just so all over the place. And so, it was it was just crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy to watch her go through this stuff. And I was not the person that I know myself to be.
Right.
But you know, I also I was going through something that was just so insanely hard that I don't fault myself for how it made me
Yeah.
feel and the person that I turned into or whatever. Because, for one, I was a husband who was protecting and supporting his wife. And
Right.
two, I was watching the mother of my children and my beautiful bride fall apart right in front of my eyes, and
Yeah.
watching my life fall apart. And so, like, I can't fault myself for the way I handled it if I didn't
Right.
handle it perfectly or whatever. But anyway, so again, kind of getting off topic, but so let's get back on topic.
Okay.
Okay. So what else do you have to add to
I
that?
mean, I think that's all I have for that, is just basically you don't have to be strong for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um like I said, there's times, especially if you have little kids, you have to be strong in certain situations, but find a friend that you can talk to. If you have a widow friend, that's the best. Connect, go to our Widow Too Soon Facebook page, connect with somebody, talk to them, like find another person who understands this to be your safe place. So you don't have to feel like you have to be strong all the time. Give yourself permission to go to your room and cry. Like it's okay to do these things. And let yourself like have that place to just feel it. Like I shared, like I had a grief moment the other day. I cried a little bit. Like it's good to, you don't have to be strong all the time. Like even now, like I feel like, okay, we've been widows almost 3 years. Sometimes it's like, I gotta be strong. But you know what? I had a moment. It's okay. Like it's okay wherever you are. If you're 10 years, 20 years down the journey, it doesn't matter. Like you, you want to be where you're at and feel it. And so I don't really have much more on this except for to say, you don't have to be strong all the time. We're giving you permission, thesaurus, permission.
The
Thesaurus. We're giving you permission to be where you're at, and you don't have to. Maybe there's somebody that needs to hear this today. Okay, fellow griever, you do not have to be strong all of the time. Like God wants to take that burden for you. Like you're feeling the burden. He's like, come to me, all you who are heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. You know that verse? I'm saying it wrong, but I'm going to find it.
Yeah,
and
we all know what you're saying.
Yeah. And so God wants to take that yoke off of you, put it on himself, and wants to take that burden. I think sometimes we carry too much of it ourselves. As widows, we are strong, we are independent, we got this, we got strong for everybody, we got to do everything. We are the mom and the dad. Like we're everything. But sometimes God wants to take that off of you. I'm just experiencing this right now. Like sometimes I get a little bit stressed out, and Joel's like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And he's like, I feel like you're so used to, you have to do everything. Because we're getting all this new furniture, doing all this. And he's like, what are you feeling? He's very good about asking what I'm feeling. And I'm like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed. All these chairs we need to put together, the table, the bed. He's like, I got this. I'm going to do it. You just sit back and relax. I was like, what?
That's awesome.
Like, you think you have to do it all, but you don't. And it was just such like a nice relief to be like, I don't have to do anything. And even if you are like, you're still, single, you don't have to do anything. Enlist a friend. Like there are people, those people who say, let me know if there's anything I can do. Well, let them know. Like I got new furniture. I need some help. I need my tire change. I need to know how to grocery shop. Like whatever the things are, let those people help you carry the burdens, and maybe pray specifically that God will bring people into your life that will help you carry the burdens, so you don't have to be as strong. You don't have to do this alone. Drop the mic.
Boom.
Boom.
I actually specifically remember, speaking of prayer and the other thing you were talking about, I specifically remember crying out to God and saying, you told me you would take the burden. I'm asking you to please take it. Please, I can't handle all of this. And I feel like he did.
Yeah.
I really feel like he did. I really feel like he just like lifted so much burden off of me at various moments. And it's very powerful. And you don't have to be strong for others.
No.
You really don't. And gosh, I would almost encourage you to not be strong for others, because I did the opposite and it was wrong. It was wrong. I felt so lonely at different moments. And it's funny because these two things feel differently, even though the words feel synonymous. But like, I felt so lonely, and I also felt so alone. And it felt like those things were different.
Yeah, they are.
And I don't know, I can't describe it, even though I just went through language arts in high school. But I feel like I can't describe how they're different. But they felt different. It felt like I was incredibly lonely and incredibly alone. And
like lonely, like longing for companionship, and then alone, like I'm doing it all myself. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. And yes, lonely and companionship, not only in a relationship, but just I don't know. I was like longing for another Mark that knew exactly what I'd been through, and exactly, because there were a lot of things that I saw taking care of Lacey that I will never unsee for the rest of
Right.
my life. And I've explained some of it to Tina,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's hard to even let out that little bit sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And there are things that I've never told anybody. I mean, the closest person to me in regards of talking about some of the things I went through with Lacey was her mom.
Yeah.
But there's things that I saw and felt that like there's just no reason for me to share it with anybody. It's
Yeah.
dark and
Right.
and horrible, you know, like and but it's like things that I saw and things that I felt and experienced. And um a lot of you can relate because a lot of you like as long as you are here and widowed, like you've been through a lot of darkness. And I'm sure you know what I mean, that it just sometimes it just feels like there's nobody that perfectly understands what you've been through. I mean, even you and I, Michelle, like we
Yeah.
both lost our spouses to cancer. It was both I mean, it was crazy long time for you, but it was long and drawn out for both of us. You know, I
Right.
mean, it felt like a long time for me, even though it was, 14 months, but like it was an intense 14 months. And so it felt like a really, really long time. Um, but even there were differences between us and what we went
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
And it was like there were some things you went through that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine that. Some things that I went through that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't
Yeah.
imagine that. And and so there's just this part of you that just wants somebody who's been through the exact same thing you have. But anyways, I'm getting off topic, but I really, really want to encourage you all, especially I know so many of you are in the beginning. And some of you, oh my gosh, some of you are so young.
Yeah.
Some of our listeners, I think she
No.
said she was 23
Oh
years
my
old
goodness.
when
Wow.
she lost her spouse and they have little babies. I've talked to so many women who were pregnant when
Oh
they
yeah.
lost their spouse.
That's unbelievably hard.
There was one woman that she was getting groceries at the store, and I always tell this one because it's just so heart-wrenching, and I just understand. I feel like I understand where she's coming from. But she was at the store grocery shopping, and she gets home and she realized she forgot the sour cream.
Hmm.
And her husband goes, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'll go get it." He grabs the kids, loads up the car, gets in a car accident on the way to the store. They all die.
Oh my
Her
goodness.
two kids and her husband all died.
Oh, it's
And
awful.
and actually, this was, I remember now, this was in a group that I saw this post.
Yeah.
And she, she posted it publicly. So even though I'm not using her ID, I feel like it's okay to share the story.
Yeah.
Because she shared it in a group with 7,000 people. But
Yeah.
and her last sentence was, and it just, oh my gosh, the tears hit me when I read this. She said, "What if I hadn't forgot the sour cream?"
Oh,
And I was like, oh my gosh. And I mean, so there's just so many people that are going through stories that are just so hard. And it's just so crazy that God has given you and I this incredible responsibility to try and help people that are in
yeah.
this very vulnerable season. I mean, I've had people reach out and just say, I just can't do it anymore. I don't want to go on. And
Right.
I'm trying to
Yep.
talk somebody out of hurting themselves, and
Right.
it's so intense. And so anyways, so I say all this to encourage you all that like what you're going through, there's people that care, because I'm sitting here right now with tears in my eyes thinking about so many of the stories I've heard. There are people that care, that
Yeah.
genuinely have empathy for what you're going through and have been through. So don't do it alone. um share your story on our page.
Yeah.
Post it on our page and say you need friends or whatever. Just be vulnerable. And I'm coming at that from a place of I wasn't able to do it, and trust me, I was wrong. And you're coming at it from a position, Michelle, of saying I was able to do it and it helped me a lot. So
Hmm.
we're both telling you the same advice from different perspectives, that like you need
Right.
to reach out to people, be vulnerable, and don't feel like you need to be strong for anybody. You're going through something so difficult that most people can't even imagine
Right.
the pain and the darkness that's in your heart. Don't be afraid to share it. So,
It's
anyways,
good stuff. It's good stuff.
word up.
Word up. Well, would you like to close this in prayer?
Yes. Can I do the Michelle voice asking for a little
No, I
stars?
literally laughed when I heard that, like out loud, like a literal LOL. Oh, I also like I
Oh,
talk
that was
back to
really fun for me.
I talk back, feel like I talk all the time, like to myself. But when I listen to the podcast and you were like singing school's out for the summer or something about school's out for the summer, I'm like, really already? Like I said that out loud, and then you're like, just kidding. Like I finished school. So, anyways,
Oh, that's
it was
great.
like an interactive podcast, but you couldn't hear me. Like I was
Yes.
interacting with some of it.
It's like choose your own adventure.
It was. Oh, and which reminds me, thank you for our one paid subscriber that you were mentioning last week.
Yes, yes.
With the paid subscription, there will be extra content, like extra little things like that we're gonna do. We're gonna be more specific later on. After the wedding, when I get back, we'll be planning out more of what that looks like to be a paid subscriber.
Yes.
But, we definitely appreciate all of you listening and just being part of this journey with us. It's been amazing. So
absolutely. Good memory on that too. And yeah, I guess we set that up a long time ago that like you could be a subscriber and there'd be special content and stuff. So we are going to do that.
We're working on it.
Michelle's busy. We're brainstorming of how we can provide special content, maybe more private content and stuff like that. So
and if that is
maybe
you, if you are the paid subscriber, we apologize that you don't have that extra content yet, but it's coming.
Yes, it is.
And we just thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. So
absolutely.
I wanted to mention one thing, and then we can get into prayer. So I've talked about it a few times. I have a new program called the Grief Recovery. Well, it's not my program, but I am a grief recovery specialist now. And I am now working with 2 clients, and it has been absolutely the most rewarding work I think I've ever done. Like I absolutely love helping people learn how to not only like go through their grief, but how to recover. And so it's a 40-year-old system that has helped people to learn how to like really dig down and like, what is my grief? How do I recover it? How do I move forward? And it's been amazing. And what's also awesome is thanks to my nonprofit, Widow Goals, I'm able to have people fill out scholarship forms and use the funding from Widow Goals to pay for part of the grief recovery program. So it's really a win-win. And people have been able to do that, and it's been awesome. So if you want to learn more about that, there's a link in the description to book a 15-minute call with me. And you can learn more about what it is and how do you apply for the scholarship and all that stuff. Because my vision is really to see people healed. It is God who heals. And he gave us like tools and programs and things like that to take the steps forward. And I got the book and I read it in one day, and I was like, I love this. I love it. I love how it shows you what it really talks about, how grief is so misunderstood. And there's even a part that says, do you know that people in the general public know more about first aid than they do about grief? There's more education on first aid which is important. I'm not downplaying first aid, but people don't know about grief. And so it's a grief education program, and it's a program on how to actually recover, and there's steps that are powerful. I thought I was completely recovered from grief, but I went through the whole program in January and realized there were so much more that I worked through between me and Luke. It includes a letter and a bunch of stuff that you do, and it was super powerful. So anyways, if you want to know more about that, look at the little link. It'll take you to a calendar where you can book a call with me, or you can always email me also and ask questions. So anyways, just want to mention
where would they email you?
We can use our email. Actually, let's just do one. I don't want to confuse people. It's the same place. If you guys want to email us, widowedtoosoonm@gmail.com. I have another one, but I don't want to give out too many emails and make it confusing. Or you can also, on Messenger on Facebook, you can email us there. Anyways,
Facebook. No, that's cool. This is important because it's a really powerful ministry, and I'm not a salesman, and so it's really hard for me to like promote anything. Like we used to, do Patreon, and I was like, I can't do it anymore. But if I believe in it, I can speak on it. And I know
I
how
will.
passionate you are about helping widowed people. I've talked to you about it privately.
Yeah.
And I can tell you all that this is something that's extremely important to Michelle for your well-being. This isn't her trying to start, a business or something like
Right.
that. This is,
Thank
she
you.
cares about you all and for you all to do well in your grief and to not only survive, but to thrive.
Very good. That's the like kind of like the motto or the mission statement of my nonprofit Widow
Yeah, it's your
Goals.
mantra or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, so I can speak to it and just say
Thank
that
you.
I think that this is going to be really helpful to people. And I know if Michelle is doing it and promoting it, that it's a good thing. So
Thanks.
anyways, yeah.
All right. You
I'm
want
not
to
saying that for you.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Of course not.
I'm just
Nice.
kidding. Anyway, so yeah, I
You want
will
to say
pray
a
us
little
out.
prayer? Let's say a little prayer
Little
for
prayer for
you. Forever and never. We had to have a song. Okay. We got an all episode. Forever and never. It makes me think of Runaway Bride, and I will not be a run. I have a microphone in my hand, like a pretend one, while I'm next to the real microphone.
Well, you actually have a microphone? That's
Yes,
awesome.
but I will not be a Runaway Bride. I promise. I will be like a Run to Joel Bride because I'm so excited. Anyway,
Runaway train, never going back. No, that's different. Anyway, wrong way on the one-way track.
Pretty good.
Anyways, all right,
say a
doing
little
it.
prayer.
Sorry.
You go.
Sorry, audience. Okay. Oh, Lord, thank you so much for everything you do for us and all the blessings you bestow upon us and the incredible responsibility that you've given us with this ministry. We pray that you would use us as a vessel to share the gospel with the world and share love with those who are hurting. I pray, Lord, that you would help people be encouraged that they don't have to be strong for others and that you would provide people for them. People who are willing and able to hear the darkness and the pain that's in their soul, and that you would allow them to the strength, because it takes strength, that you would allow them the strength to be vulnerable and to be able to share and to not do what I did and keep it bottled up. And anyways, and I pray, Lord, for all those listening. I pray for Michelle's ministry, Widow Goals, and that people would be able to get lots of scholarships to do this program. Anyways, we ask all these things in Jesus' name. May your will be done. Amen.
Amen. If you like this podcast, give it a little ping.
5 stars
on Apple Podcasts. Okay, side note, I didn't even tell you this, but I'm gonna say it on air. People can rate us on Spotify. Didn't know. We have like 23, we have like a 4.9 stars on Spotify.
Wait, who's the 0.1?
I don't know. They averaged it. Maybe okay.
Kidding.
No, I'm gonna look it up really quick. But
did we get a negative review? You should address it on air.
There was nobody's written anything. Okay, 4.8 stars.
Okay.
And there are 24 people that read. I mean, nobody wrote anything.
Just to be clear, that's out of 5, right?
I hope so, not out of 10.
Okay.
So you can, if you listen to us on Spotify, you can give us 5 stars also. And I thought it was just on Apple, but now I know it's on Spotify. Wherever you listen, you can give us 5 stars. Bing.
It's I was gonna say it's not just 5 stars. It's bing 5 stars.
I can't say it without that. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like we covered it all.
I think so. And then some extra stuff.
And then extra. We appreciate you being here today. And I think that's it.
I think that's it. Is that it?
I think so.
All right.
We'll see you guys next time.
God bless you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.